Song for the Imps. How about a song for the Imps? There we go then. Come on, let's get some of that together. Let's have a good old Imps song, yeah. Okay, you're on. Come on, fellas. Get around a piano. Let's have a good go. Come on, then. You ready? Come on, you lot. Come on, then.
Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The Imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The Imps are here to stay. Lincoln City are the team, the Reds is their name. Stinsel Bankers their home ground and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you lads, support them all the way. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The Imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our...
Morning all, how are we doing? Quick morning dog walk video. I had been planning to do a little bit of something for TikTok, but the kit has dropped. Now it's dropped as I've been walking, and there was no press release, there was no kind of warning for the media, etc., to kind of have a look and see what it looked like. So I've had to do that quite quickly on the internet this morning as I've been walking. But I have got some initial thoughts. I'm quite interested to hear yours. So first of all, this is the kit. Let's bring it up on the screen. Hopefully you can still hear me. So very much inspired by the looks of things by the I think 83, 84, 84, 85 season kit, that kind of like sort of final Colin Murphy years. Very, very similar to a retro kit that was released recently, which we'll touch upon in a little while. So he's gone back with the classic pinstripe. We last saw the pinstripe in the 2020-21 season, which was quite a success. And then we go back, I think, to the 95, 96, I think it was pinstripe as well. That same sort of design. Very, very narrow pinstripe this time. So deviating, one might say, from the red and white stripes, which may upset some traditionalists. Obviously the sponsor is Branston. I've already seen criticism of the sponsor. There's nothing you can do. Clubs need sponsors, and at the end, detrimental to the shirt in the same way. For instance, the NSUC was back in the 18-19 season now. Gone back to the so-called classic badge. Some call it the cartoon imp. For some people like me, it was one of the first badges that I had. I do prefer the badge, if I'm honest. And the manufacturer, as we knew, is Oxon. And the final little details, I haven't looked into any sort of little nuances at the moment, but it looks like there's a little bit of black trim as well. My article yesterday did say I do like a black trim on a Lincoln City shirt. So, yep. So that's the new kit. I can't keep that on the screen, I don't think, while I'm out and about. So I will pop it up intermittently. Charlie Beeston's on board, of course he is. Morning. Don't know what he thinks of it. I should do, because I'm in two group chats where he's already discussed it. Frank Best says the badge is a winner for me, but the kit feels very Kidderminster Cheltenham. Yeah, if you stuck Myrish hours on the front, it would be Cheltenham. However, I do think it's hard to find a kit that is unique, that's different to what you've had before, but doesn't feel like another team. I've seen somebody comment somewhere that it also looks a little bit like Fleetwood. I said yesterday, the club are always in a tough place with kits. I do feel a degree of sympathy for them in that respect, because they have to find something different every year to do around the same colours and the same style. We are red and white stripes. If we went red and white hoops, despite having two of the fundamental elements of Lincoln City's kit combined, it would be classed as not traditional Lincoln City. See the awful red and white checks that we had a few years ago. If we had any other colour at all, it would be non-traditional Lincoln City. Bear in mind, we are the red Imps, not the red and white Imps, so red needs to be dominant. If we went white with real thin red pinstripe, people would look at it and go, oh, it's a bit Clydebank, it's a bit this, it's a bit that. So this shirt will divide opinion, because every shirt does. There's very, very few shirts that you look at and you go, that's a belter. A couple of years ago, I call it the Chris Maguire season because he's the only player I ever seem to associate with it. We had the take of the classic Adidas kit. And you can see that the club at the minute are trying almost all of the time to do something traditional, something classic, something that preserves the club's heritage. I think that's something that runs through the board. I think it's something that runs through the entire management structure of the club, is that we're trying to stay connected with our identity. So that's another reason for this shirt being as it is. I do have a couple of negatives to throw around this shirt, but let's just have a quick look at some other comments. So Matthew Goodwin says he's not a big fan, but agrees with the badge. So I'm assuming likes the badge. Everyone, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely that. Charlie is a fan of it. He prefers last year's, but this isn't massively far off. Sean is just saying morning, which is always nice. I value manners. So good morning, Sean. James Bride looks like Halifax away 83-84. I love it, and would even have gone white shorts for one season. Stripes will be back next season. Yeah, almost certainly. Sean does like it, and Adam just says Cheltenham Town. I'm not sure if that's that kind of Team America thing where Adam will chime in every so often and just go Cheltenham Town like Matt Damon. We'll see. Steve Freeston, out of breath here. I really want us to go the Arsenal kit of the late 60s, early 70s. Owen Dawson, not a massive fan, but it'll grow on me as they always do. I tend to grow on them. That's a problem I've had with Lincoln shirts in the past. And Richard Mattingly says, good morning. So, I like the shirt. I do like the shirt. And in the past, there have been a couple of shirts that I've disliked, and they've grown on me. Last season's third kit I disliked. I think it's one of the best we've ever had. I disliked the 2020-21 season pinstripe shirt, and by the end of it, I thought it was a really nice shirt. I like this one first off. And bear in mind, I haven't had advance warning. There's been no kind of, this isn't Club Stooge going, oh, I really like it, blah, blah, blah. Generally, the first time I saw it, I thought that looked smart. And then two things came to mind. Two things that I think may affect, one, the sales of the shirt, and two, some people's perception of the shirt. So first of all, it's almost identical to the retro one that was released recently. Almost identical. The one Chris has got it, loads of people have got it. They like the shirt. They've bought the retro one. I've seen it around the ground loads. I wonder if you have that retro shirt, are you going to think, well, I'll buy this one now as well? Because the differences are not really subtle, are so subtle, I think, for it to not feel like a different shirt. My first thought when I saw it was, well, they've rebadged a retro shirt. And it's that Alan Partridge moment where he's talking about mini metros, and she goes, oh, it's a Rover Metro now. And he goes, they've rebadged it, you fool. It feels a little rebadged. It's not. I'm sure it's a bespoke shirt. I'm sure there's loads of little changes and differences to it. But in the eye of somebody that's got 45 or 50 quid in their hand in the club shop, and are looking at it and are wearing the one that they bought a year or two ago, are they going to see a subtle enough difference to buy it? I'm not so sure. I'm not 100% convinced. I'll buy it because I always do. I always buy the shirts, but it's certainly one that I can see myself waiting to buy at Christmas when it comes down to 25 quid or whatever. I'm not sure I would go out and spend a large amount of money on it in the first instance. I hope that's not going to be the case. I do think that last year the two alternative shirts sold really well. I've not been told officially by the club, but unofficially one or two people have said they were good sellers. I wonder if they're the ones that people might point their money at. I think with the home shirts there are three types of buyer. The one that buys it every single season, and no matter what you do with that shirt, you won't upset that person. I'll buy it anyway. At some point I'll buy it. A lot of you will. There are some that never buy a kit anyway, so it doesn't matter what you're playing. If you never buy it, it doesn't matter. It could be covered in sick. If you're not going to buy it, you're not going to buy it. It could be covered in gold. And then there's the one that will buy it whether they like it or not. And that's the one that I think will maybe not quite catch. The ones that go, I buy one every 4 or 5 seasons. It's not fundamentally different enough to the retro range. It's not different enough to this or that. I'll buy the away shirt. I'll buy the third kit. I still think that person spends their money. So I think overall spread across the shirts, there won't be a significant drop. But I do think that the home kit this year might be one that sees lower sales. A couple more pieces of opinion. Steve Banks, morning Gary, not a great lover, preferred last year's, but I'll support the Imps, whatever. Yeah, the shirt will never put you off supporting. It's a colour you're playing, isn't it? Ben Harrison loves it and loves the leisure wear. Nick Oxbury Shoal wear, last year's shirt purchased at £18. Very good, Nick. Always the thrifty one. I bet he's got millions put away in the bank. Fundamentally, my first problem was the fact we've released one that's very similar to one of the past. My second issue, and it's not an issue that I have, but it's an issue that people 3 or 4 years older than me upwards may have, is that it's not a shirt and not a retro design associated with a good time to be a Lincoln fan. So the Adidas kind of replica that we did a couple of years ago, the Chris Maguire shirt, the 21-22 season, Brook Norton Cuffy, all of that, it represented a time of positivity for Lincoln. It represented the early 80s where we went through Division 4, we were top of Division 3, we were on the cusp of the championship. It was a time of great success. This one isn't. This one's a time of Colin Murphy's final seasons. It's that kind of little bit of struggle, a little bit of mediocrity. For me, and I don't, it wasn't the shirt that we actually got relegated in, but I have this image of them struggling at the foot of Division 3 in that shirt. I'm just not sure that it will have, whilst it's a nice shirt, I genuinely believe that, I think that there will be people of a certain age who will go, I'm not buying that because it reminds me of this season again. But there are two cons on what I think overall is a good shirt. Let's bring it back up once again for you to have a quick look at. Again, you know, people will talk about the sponsor. It's not even a discussion point for me. Yeah, I thought actually the season's shirt that I identify with least now is the 21-22 season, the Chris Maguire season, because we had so many different sponsors that the shirt never had an identity of its own. And shirts do have identities. You know, someone mentioned Arsenal a little bit earlier. You think of Arsenal, say JVC, you can picture the shirt. With Lincoln, you say things like Go-Car. I can picture the Go-Car shirt. It wasn't the classic. TSM in the 2012-13 season was a great shirt. Peregrine, obviously, of 2021. So a sponsor can kind of identify a shirt, in my opinion. I actually quite like the Branston sponsor. It's not garish. It's okay. It's got that little flash of green in it, but you know, if it was all white, if it was all white, I could see Myra Showers there, but with the little flash DS, the different colour, I think it just makes it quintessentially Lincoln City. So there we go. I've got awful hay fever now I've come out. So Carl Gibson says he likes it. It's different. James Bride says we beat Spurs in this shirt. Great memory. That's a really good point, actually. And I think probably for me, not living through that era, I came to the club first in October '86. Sometimes you forget that a shirt can stand for one big game. One of my favourite Lincoln shirts of all time, I did on the article yesterday, is 96-97 because we beat Man City in it. So actually, to be fair, yeah, it's a really good point, James. James says actually the sponsor is subtle for once. I think so, Joe. I quite like the Branston sponsor, and I also actually like a little flash of colour. And it's funny because James Newland, Jimmy, I was on his stag weekend or stag night on Friday. We had a great time. He says take the green S out for me, but overall a cracking top. I actually feel that a little flash of colour, a little green S or the blue TSM, sets a shirt off well. I think if it's the black sponsor NSUC in for the quick save shirt, just it added nothing to the shirt. And for me, a football shirt actually is added to by the sponsor. It's really easy to say, oh, we don't need a sponsor ruins a shirt, a sponsor does this or that. It really doesn't. I actually think a sponsor makes a shirt. I think a sponsor is as much a part of the shirt as all of the other elements that combine to it. So it's really easy to criticize a sponsor. It's really easy to say, oh, if it didn't have the sponsor, it'd be this. If that didn't have the sponsor, it'd be the retro shirt that was sold a couple of months ago. And actually, it'll be the sponsor and the little Football League nuances and the little changes to the shirt that make people buy it over the retro one. So it's interesting. I do know a good friend of mine whose name I won't mention because it would be remiss, but he has messaged me. Let me just pull it up. And his message to me was, yup, it's Gash, 4 shirts in 6 seasons, ripping off old designs. And again, that's entirely down to people's views, isn't it? Because is it ripping off designs or is it trying to recapture part of the traditionalism? Is it trying to find something that's red and white that still feels like it's linked to Lincoln City? I picked 2 shirts yesterday in an article, which I believe are the worst home shirts that we've had during my lifetime. And both of them tried something fundamentally different. In fact, all 3, thinking about it, tried something fundamentally different from red and white stripes. There was the awful one, the paint one that started red and went pink halfway down. I think it was 9900, awful. 0001, the checks, awful. And then 2018-19, the stripes with that awful kind of flashing down them. 3 terrible shirts. But some of the best shirts are the ones that have to play with the traditional elements as well. So if I was to say to you 21-22 shirt, 22-23 shirt, they don't stand out as such because there was nothing really different, but the club every year or two have to go back to traditional red and white stripes. And when they do it right, 2017-18, the Checkatrade Trophy winning shirt, they can't stick with it for the next season. Otherwise people will go, it's just the same as last season. So trying something different is dangerous, as shown by the 3 awful shirts I picked. But leaning on something from the past, in my opinion, is a nice way to do it, but it's got to be done right. If I were, for instance, to be looking at a kit for next season, it would be red and white stripes. The season after, might be tempted to look at the 94-95 season that was red with just the 2 white stripes that was designed by a fan, but a variation on that, something a little bit different. So anyway, that's my opinion of the shirts. I may have to disappear in a minute because I think there is a huge, great big tractor thing looking to pull in this field over there. It's just passed. So it'll be interesting. Pete makes a good point here. Striped shirts are gradually dying out as kits all have plain backs, so the numbers are clearer for TV. Joe Cates, I hope I pronounced that right, Joe, says, very nonplussed by that kit, as had already been sold, said it's just a rehash retro strip, £48, crazy price. And Gastain, and quite correct, Fawcett and Thorn tyre sponsor looking quite similar. So it's all that. A shirt's always going to divide opinion. And in the last 5-10 years, there have been more and more football shirt aficionados and sites popping up, and loads of people will be criticizing it. Loads of people have an idea of what their ideal shirt is, but it's all in the eye of the beholder. As they say, back again. Yeah, it's all in the eye of the beholder. It's all subjective. Art is subjective. Football kits are subjective. You might not like it, but it doesn't mean it's a bad kit. I might like it, but it doesn't mean it's a good kit. It might sell, it doesn't mean it's a nice kit. If we win the league in it next season, there won't be very many people who will look back on it and go, well, that's not a nice kit. But there'll be some, like I do with the one when we wore when we won the title a couple of years ago. So kits are all subjective. None of us are right and none of us are wrong. So Ben says, I've always wanted a nice Lincoln green shirt, like the away kit from Burnley, something like that. We have had nice green away shirts, I think. So anyway, these days, it's not the home shirt really that has the heaviest interest, is it? It's the away shirts, it's the goalkeeper shirts, it's stuff like that. For the first time ever last year, I bought a goalkeeper shirt. I know a lot of people have brought some of the training stuff as well. So whilst we can critique the home shirt as much as we want, I do think that it's really just desperation for some sort of news, isn't it? And if you are desperation, Charlie, come on. If you are desperate for some sort of news, for some sort of discussion, for something related more to the playing squad, Charlie Beeston has scheduled a chat about our loan players, and it's now published. So you can watch that directly after this. You can watch it. You can finish this live show, go back onto our YouTube channel, and Charlie has got a Drogheda fan to have a chat with about our loan players. How are they doing? Are they likely to impact our first team next season? Bear in mind that's Hayden Cann and Oshin Gallagher. So that'll be really interesting. Thank you, Charlie, for that. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, let's have one last look at it now. We'll watch 24 home games with cups, maybe 30, hopefully a few more. You never have a know. It'll be a cup run. That's the shirt we'll be wearing. We'll wear it away sometimes. Some of you will be wearing it as well. Is it a banger? Is it a classic? Will it sell? Will it not sell? They're all uncertainties. One certain thing is that we'll see goals scored in that Lincoln City shirt. We'll celebrate that Lincoln City shirt next season. We may also find ourselves crying about it once or twice as well. Chris Cawthorne says that'll be our playoff season shirt next season. And it's hard to disagree. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for watching. Pop along, watch the Trahida video, and we will be back shortly. Thank you. Bye.